What if I told you that the Christianity you've known, the image of Christ you've revered, is not the full truth? What if the true image of Jesus, the Messiah, is not a pale man with golden robes, but a black man, one whose roots are firmly planted in the rich soil of Africa, a place that has preserved the authentic gospel for centuries, untouched by empire? For over 1,000 years, the Ethiopian Bible has safeguarded this truth. But for centuries, the world has been kept in the dark about this divine revelation. Why? Because it threatened the power structures of the world. A black Messiah, a Christ who was born to liberate and not to serve empire, is a truth the world was never meant to know. Why has this powerful truth been concealed for so long? What has been hidden from us in the pages of the Bible that the Western world, led by empires and politics, sought to bury? What if the answer is more controversial and eye-opening than we've been led to believe? In this video, we are about to uncover the hidden secrets of the Ethiopian Bible. We will explore the truth about the Black Messiah, whose image has been buried under centuries of colonialism and falsehoods. Through the sacred texts of the Ethiopian Church, you will learn why this truth was hidden and how it has the power to transform our understanding of Christ and his divine mission. Together, we will dive deep into the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and other sacred writings that were deliberately excluded from the Western canon. You will understand why these texts were silenced, and more importantly, why they are now coming to light to change the world. This is not just about history. It's about reclaiming a part of our spiritual heritage that has been erased. If you're ready to challenge everything you thought you knew and embrace the truth that has been concealed for centuries, then join me in this journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as we embark on this awakening together. Let's uncover the divine wisdom that the world was never meant to hear, but desperately needs. Unveiling the hidden truths, the Ethiopian Bible, and the forbidden books. For centuries, a sacred truth has remained hidden, buried deep within the pages of a Bible that the world was never meant to see. The Ethiopian Bible, a collection of divine wisdom passed down through generations, contains books that were deliberately erased by empires seeking to control the narrative of Christianity. But the time has come to unveil what has been concealed for far too long. These ancient texts, preserved in Ethiopia for over 1,000 years, are not just relics of the past. They are living truths, and their message is more urgent than ever. The Book of Enoch, one of the most significant of these forgotten books, speaks of a world far grander than what we've been taught. It introduces us to Enoch, a man who walked so closely with God that he was taken up into heaven without experiencing death. His writings are not filled with mere moral lessons, but with profound cosmic revelations. They tell of angelic beings, the Watchers, who descended from heaven and mingled with humanity, teaching forbidden knowledge that would change the course of history. The consequences of their actions, the birth of the Nephilim, giants who brought chaos and corruption into the world, are not just a myth. They are a reflection of the divine order and its disruption. This book is not just about ancient times. It is about us, about the choices we make, the knowledge we seek, and the responsibility that comes with divine understanding. The Book of Enoch reveals something shocking. The universe is not a random collection of events. It is governed by divine law, by a cosmic order that demands justice, truth, and balance. This divine wisdom is not confined to the heavens, but extends to us, here on earth. We are part of a much larger story, and the choices we make matter. This truth was hidden for centuries, not because it lacked validity, but because it would shake the very foundations of power. If we were to understand the true nature of divine justice, we would no longer accept the oppression, corruption, and inequality that so often define our world. This truth calls us to action, to rise above the forces of darkness that seek to divide us, and to stand firm in the light of divine justice. Similarly, the Book of Jubilees, another sacred text preserved by the Ethiopian Church, offers us a radically different view of history. It teaches that time is not linear, as we are often told, but cyclical, divinely orchestrated in periods called jubilees. Each jubilee is a reset, a divine opportunity for humanity to return to God's original plan. This concept of time challenges the Western view that history is simply a forward march, an endless progression. The Book of Jubilees reminds us that time is sacred, that our actions are part of a divine rhythm that stretches beyond the human experience. Our choices, our faith, and our actions are not just fleeting, they resonate through the eternal cycles of creation. What is the message we can draw from these texts? First and foremost, it is a message of awareness. The Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees awaken us to the truth that we are not mere victims of the world's circumstances. We are participants in a divine plan, and that plan is unfolding right now. We are connected to a much larger cosmic order that stretches back to the beginning of time and reaches forward into eternity. Our choices matter. They have the power to shape the world around us, to bring us closer to divine justice, or to push us further into chaos and disorder. The question is, which path will we choose? The second lesson is one of accountability. These ancient texts remind us that knowledge is not just power, it is responsibility. The watchers in the Book of Enoch were not punished because they sought knowledge, but because they used that knowledge to corrupt the divine order. They taught humanity things that were not meant to be known, and in doing so, they brought chaos and suffering to the world. The Book of Jubilees echoes this lesson, reminding us that every cycle of time offers us a new opportunity to return to God's plan. But that return requires us to take responsibility for our actions, to recognize the power of our choices, and to realign ourselves with the divine will. These lessons are not just abstract concepts, they are truths that we can apply to our own lives today. We live in a world where corruption, oppression, and injustice are rampant. But the Ethiopian Bible calls us to see beyond the surface, to recognize the divine justice that is at work behind the scenes. It challenges us to live differently, to act with integrity, and to stand for the truth, no matter the cost. It is easy to feel helpless in the face of the world's problems, but these sacred texts remind us that we are not powerless. We are part of the divine plan, and we have a role to play in bringing about justice and healing. Just as the Book of Enoch speaks of the consequences of straying from divine order, it also speaks of the ultimate victory of righteousness. The judgment that the watchers faced was not the end of the story. It was part of a larger narrative of restoration and divine justice. The same is true for us. No matter how dark the world may seem, no matter how hopeless things may appear, we are reminded that God's justice will always prevail. It may take time, but in the end, the divine order will be restored. Our job is to stay faithful to that truth, to align ourselves with divine justice, and to trust that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. As we reflect on the powerful lessons of the Ethiopian Bible, we must remember that this is not just about ancient texts or forgotten books. It is about us. It is about the choices we make, the way we live, and the impact we have on the world around us. The Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees call us to live with intention, to seek divine knowledge, and to act with justice. They challenge us to rise above the forces of oppression and darkness, and to stand firm in the light of divine truth. If this video has opened your eyes to a truth you've never seen before, if it has stirred something in your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What truths have you discovered through the Ethiopian Bible? How has it impacted your understanding of divine justice? If you feel moved by this message, please like, share, and subscribe so that together we can continue to uncover the hidden truths that have the power to change our lives and the world. The truth is rising, and it is time for us to rise with it. The divine plan is unfolding, and we are part of that plan. Let us embrace the lessons of the Ethiopian Bible and live out the divine wisdom that has been hidden for so long. Together, we can bring about a new age of justice, truth, and healing. Let us walk this path of divine revelation, and let our lives be a reflection of the sacred truth that has always been with us. The Black Messiah. Rediscovering the true identity of Jesus in the Ethiopian Bible. For centuries, the true image of Jesus Christ has been concealed behind layers of cultural, political, and theological manipulation. The image we often see, the pale, blue-eyed Jesus, has been crafted over time with little regard for the roots of the Messiah's actual identity. This image, so deeply embedded in Western Christianity, has created a distorted narrative of Christ's life, one that serves to reinforce the power structures of the empire rather than the revolutionary message he came to deliver. But what if I told you that the real image of Jesus was one that was black? What if I told you that his roots, his identity, his divine purpose are intricately connected to the African soil, to Ethiopia, the cradle of Christianity? The Ethiopian Bible, with its unbroken legacy, preserves the original truths of Christ's life and mission, truths that have been buried and hidden from the world for too long. This is not just a matter of a physical appearance, but a deeper, more profound recognition of the radical nature of Christ's message, a message that challenges the powerful, that speaks truth to the oppressed, and that transforms the world. In Ethiopia, the image of a black Christ has remained intact for millennia, standing in defiance of the empire's attempt to whitewash the Savior. Imagine for a moment a world where Jesus was not used as a tool of empire, a world where the true image of the Messiah, whose skin is like burnt bronze, whose hair is like wool, and whose eyes are like flames of fire, stood in stark contrast to the empires that sought to use him for their own political gain. This is the Christ that the Ethiopian Bible reveals. Not a figure wrapped in golden robes, but a revolutionary, standing with the oppressed, confronting the injustice of the empire, and calling his followers to radical love and justice. The Ethiopian Bible reveals a Christ who is not anointed by the powerful, but who challenges the powerful. In the Book of Enoch, the scriptures speak of divine judgment and the coming restoration of justice, a justice that does not favor the rich and powerful, but aligns with the oppressed. This is the Christ who came not to comfort the powerful, but to confront them, not to bless empires, but to challenge their very foundations. The world's image of Jesus was designed to fit the status quo, to maintain control over the masses. But the true Jesus, as preserved in the Ethiopian Bible, shatters that mold. He is not a servant to empire. He is the agent of divine transformation. The Book of Enoch offers profound insight into this. It tells the story of the Watchers, divine beings who descended to earth and imparted forbidden knowledge to humanity. While their intentions were not inherently evil, their actions brought chaos and corruption into the world. This narrative of divine beings interacting with humanity is not just a myth. It is a reflection of the radical, boundary-defying nature of Christ's message. The Watchers' act of imparting knowledge was a moment of awakening, but it was also a moment of disobedience. Just as they crossed boundaries, Christ came to break down the walls that separate us from God, to reveal the divine knowledge that was hidden, to awaken the true potential within humanity. Christ's coming was not about confirming the status quo. It was about tearing down the walls built by empire, by colonialism, and by the systems that divide and oppress. His image as a black man is no mere accident. It is a deliberate, powerful reminder that God's divine love and justice transcend race, class, and empire. The whitewashed image of Jesus serves to align the faith with empire, but the true, authentic Christ calls us to rise above those limitations and to embrace the radical love and justice that he embodied. In the Book of Jubilees, we find another powerful revelation that challenges our understanding of history. The book presents the concept of time as cyclical, not linear, divinely orchestrated in cycles called Jubilees. These periods of divine resetting remind us that history is not a straight line of progress dictated by human rulers. It is a sacred, cyclical unfolding of divine purpose. This divine concept of time shatters the notion that history is simply about empire building and domination. Instead, it teaches us that time is a rhythm of divine intervention, a reminder that the true divine order is always in motion, constantly moving toward justice, toward restoration, and toward the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan for humanity. This is where the Black Christ in the Ethiopian Bible becomes so important. It is not just about the appearance of Jesus. It is about understanding his identity and his mission. A black Messiah was a threat to the powers of the world. The Roman Empire wanted a Christ who would bless their conquests, who would justify their rule over the oppressed. The Ethiopian Bible, however, reveals a Christ who comes to confront these powers, to expose the injustice and inequality that runs deep within empire. He is a Messiah who stands with the oppressed, who challenges the status quo, and who calls for a world of justice, equality, and love. This truth, the image of a black Christ, has the power to liberate us from the false narratives that have held us captive for so long. It calls us to see ourselves differently, to understand that we are part of a divine plan, a plan that is not confined to any one people, race, or nation, but extends to all of humanity. The Ethiopian Bible, by preserving the true image of Christ, calls us to embrace our divine identity, to reclaim the truth that has been hidden for too long, and to live in the freedom that comes from knowing that we are created in the image of God, just as he is created in the image of humanity. This is not just about the past. It is about the present and the future. The image of a black Messiah is a powerful, radical challenge to the forces of oppression, to the systems that seek to divide us and control us. It is a call to action, a call to stand in our truth and to live in accordance with divine justice. It is a reminder that we are part of a divine purpose that transcends the boundaries of empire and race. And it is a call to embrace the fullness of who we are, in the image of a Christ who reflects not only the fullness of God, but the fullness of humanity. So, as you reflect on the image of Christ, as you consider the true, unaltered identity of the Messiah, I ask you, will you allow this truth to awaken something within you? Will you let the Black Christ of the Ethiopian Bible challenge your understanding of God's justice and love? Will you rise above the limitations that the world has placed on you and embrace the radical, transformative power of divine truth? The choice is yours. The truth has been hidden, but it is rising again. Let us rise with it, embracing the love, justice, and liberation that Christ came to bring. Let this truth, the truth of the Black Messiah, guide us into the fullness of God's divine plan for humanity. The Forgotten Covenant. Rediscovering divine wisdom in the Ethiopian Bible. What if everything we've been taught about the Bible, the narratives, the characters, the teachings, was only a fraction of the truth? What if the fullness of God's message has been buried beneath the weight of centuries of empire, manipulation, and suppression? The Ethiopian Bible holds within it the key to unlocking the true, unbroken gospel. It is a gospel that has been preserved in Ethiopia's sacred scrolls, untouched by the forces that sought to rewrite it for their own purposes. In this Bible, we find not just the divine teachings of Christ, but the history, justice, and love that were meant to be shared with the world all along. The Book of Enoch is one of the central texts that was excluded from the Western canon, but it offers us an understanding of the world, humanity, and God's divine order that is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. Enoch, a man so faithful to God that he was taken to heaven without dying, speaks of divine justice, the consequences of corruption, and the ultimate restoration of God's plan. His writings tell of a world where angels descended from the heavens, teaching humanity forbidden knowledge that brought both wisdom and chaos to the earth. The Nephilim, the giants born of this union, wreaked havoc on creation, disrupting the balance of the world. But the Book of Enoch is not a story of doom. It is a story of divine redemption, of God's justice that will restore order to the world, and ultimately, of the awakening of humanity to its true purpose. Why was this powerful text hidden from the masses for so long? Because it reveals the truth of the divine order, a truth that transcends human control. The empire that sought to control the spread of Christianity had no room for a message of justice that spoke directly to the oppressed. It had no room for a Christ whose mission was not to comfort the powerful, but to confront them, to break the chains of the enslaved, and to restore God's divine plan on earth. The Book of Enoch challenges the very foundation of empire. It speaks of a time when the corrupt powers of the earth will be held accountable for their actions, and when divine justice will prevail. But this is not just a story of angels and giants. It is a story for us today. The Book of Enoch speaks to us about the importance of living in alignment with God's divine order. We are not mere bystanders in the divine story. We are active participants, and the choices we make matter. In a world filled with injustice, inequality, and oppression, this text calls us to stand for what is right, to challenge the powers that seek to silence us, and to live lives that reflect divine love and justice. Similarly, the Book of Jubilees offers us a radically different understanding of time and history. In the Book of Jubilees, time is not linear, but cyclical. It teaches us that history is not a straight path from one event to another, but a series of divine resets, jubilees, that bring us back into alignment with God's will. This understanding of time goes against the grain of the empire's narrative, which wants us to believe that history is driven by the conquerors, by those who hold power. But the Book of Jubilees tells us that history is not dictated by human rulers, but by divine intervention, and that each cycle brings humanity back to its true purpose. It teaches us that, no matter how far we stray from the divine path, there is always a chance for redemption, always a moment for us to realign with God's divine order. These texts, the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, challenge us to look beyond the surface of the world and recognize the deeper, divine order that governs all of creation. They remind us that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. We are not here by accident, nor are we simply at the mercy of history and empire. We are part of a divine plan, and it is our responsibility to live in a way that honors that plan. Just as the Book of Enoch speaks of the judgment that comes when humanity strays from the divine path, it also speaks of the hope that is found in returning to that path. It speaks of the ultimate restoration of God's order and the triumph of justice over corruption. These ancient texts are not just relics of the past. They are living messages, calling us to action. They offer us the wisdom we need to navigate the challenges we face in the present. In a world where corruption and injustice seem to dominate, the Ethiopian Bible calls us to rise above these forces and stand firm in our faith. It teaches us that, despite the chaos of the world, God's justice will prevail, and we are called to be part of that victory. We are called to be part of the restoration of divine order, to live lives that reflect the love, justice, and truth that Christ came to bring. As we reflect on these teachings, we are reminded that the truth of the Ethiopian Bible has never been lost. It has only been hidden. The time has come for us to reclaim this truth, to rediscover the divine wisdom that has been preserved for us. This is not just about learning from the past. It is about living in the truth that has always been with us. The Ethiopian Bible is a guide for us today, calling us to live in alignment with God's divine plan, to rise up against the forces of oppression, and to live lives of justice, love, and truth. If this message resonates with you, if you feel the stirrings of divine truth awakening within your heart, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. How has the Ethiopian Bible impacted your understanding of Christ and his message? What truths have you uncovered through this journey? Let's continue to walk this path of divine revelation together, sharing the wisdom that has been hidden for too long and bringing it into the light. Let's embrace the justice and love that the Ethiopian Bible calls us to. And let's be the ones who help bring the divine restoration of God's plan to the world. The Ethiopian Bible is not just a historical document. It is a living, breathing revelation of God's will, and it is time for us to awaken to its power. Together, let's rise in faith, let's stand for justice, and let's live according to the divine order that has been revealed to us. The time is now. The truth is rising, and we must rise with it. The divine awakening, embracing the truth of the Ethiopian Bible. The time has come to awaken to a truth that has been hidden for far too long, a truth that has been waiting to be uncovered, waiting to heal, waiting to restore the divine order that has been disrupted by centuries of manipulation and control. The Ethiopian Bible, with its full collection of sacred scriptures, holds the key to unlocking this truth. It is not just a historical artifact. It is a living document, filled with divine wisdom and revelations that have the power to transform not only our understanding of the past, but also our lives today. For centuries, the Ethiopian Church has preserved the untainted gospel, safeguarding the books that were too dangerous for empires to allow. The Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and others were cast aside, erased from the Western canon because they revealed a deeper truth, one that challenged the very foundation of the power structures that sought to control humanity. But now, as we step into this divine awakening, the time has come for us to reclaim what was lost. These sacred books speak directly to our souls, offering us wisdom, insight, and a call to action in the world today. The Book of Enoch is a powerful testament to divine justice and cosmic order. It reveals the story of angels who descended from heaven, imparting forbidden knowledge to humanity, and the resulting corruption that followed. It speaks of the giants, the Nephilim, born of the union between these angels and human women, whose existence disrupted the balance of creation. But this is not just a story about the past. It is a story about the consequences of straying from divine order, about the divine judgment that will restore balance, and the divine wisdom that calls us to align ourselves with the greater cosmic plan. The Book of Enoch calls us to awaken to the reality of divine justice. It reminds us that no matter how far we stray from the path, no matter how corrupted the world may seem, there is always a path back to divine truth. But it is up to us to make that choice. The message of the Book of Enoch is clear. Divine justice will prevail, and those who have led the world into darkness will face the consequences of their actions. Yet it is also a message of hope, for in the restoration of divine order, we will find healing, redemption, and renewal. This divine awakening calls us to understand that the choices we make have cosmic consequences. Our actions today ripple through time, affecting the world around us and shaping the course of history. The Book of Enoch challenges us to examine the systems of power and corruption in our own world, to see how they mirror the chaos and destruction brought about by the Watchers. It calls us to live in alignment with divine justice, to resist the forces that seek to divide and oppress, and to stand for the truth, no matter the cost. In addition to the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees offers us a profound understanding of time, history, and divine intervention. It teaches us that time is not linear, as we have been taught, but cyclical. The Book of Jubilees reveals that history moves in divine periods known as Jubilees, each one bringing us closer to alignment with God's divine plan. These cycles of time are not controlled by human rulers or empires. They are orchestrated by the divine hand of God. The Book of Jubilees calls us to recognize that we are part of a much larger story, one that spans the ages, and that we have a role to play in bringing about the restoration of divine justice. The idea of cyclical time is a powerful concept. It challenges the linear view of progress that has been imposed by empire, where the story of humanity is told as a straight line from birth to death, with little regard for divine intervention or purpose. The Book of Jubilees reminds us that history is not a series of isolated events, but a divine unfolding, a series of resets that bring humanity back into alignment with God's will. Each cycle of time offers us a chance to realign with the divine plan, to restore balance, and to bring justice to the world. This concept of time is not just theoretical, it is practical. It offers us hope and a sense of purpose in the midst of a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. The Book of Jubilees teaches us that no matter how far we may feel from God, no matter how broken or lost we may seem, there is always a way back. We are not bound by the mistakes of our past. We are part of a divine plan that is constantly unfolding, and we are invited to take part in that plan. The Ethiopian Bible offers us more than just ancient wisdom. It offers us a blueprint for living in alignment with divine justice and truth. These sacred texts are not just for religious scholars or historians. They are for all of us in our daily lives. They call us to live with intention, to act with integrity, and to resist the forces that seek to oppress and divide. The wisdom contained in these texts offers us the guidance we need to navigate the challenges of our world and to live lives that reflect divine justice, love, and truth. If this message resonates with you, if you feel the stirring of truth within your soul, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. How has the Ethiopian Bible impacted your understanding of God's plan? How have these divine truths called you to action in your own life? Share your experiences, your reflections, and let's continue to walk this journey together. The divine awakening is here. The truth that was once hidden is now rising, and it is calling us to rise with it. The Ethiopian Bible is not just a book. It is a living, breathing testament to the divine order that governs all creation. Let us embrace the truths it offers. Let us live in alignment with divine justice, and let us bring the light of truth into the world. The time has come for us to awaken, to rise in faith, and to walk boldly in the path that God has set before us. The truth is here. The divine plan is unfolding, and it is our time to step into it. As we come to the close of this video, I invite you to pause and reflect on what we've uncovered. The truth, as revealed in the Ethiopian Bible, is a powerful and transformative force, a force that has been hidden for centuries, but is now rising to change the course of our lives. These ancient scriptures, with their untainted message of divine justice, love, and liberation, have the ability to heal, to awaken, and to restore. They speak directly to the soul, offering us a roadmap not only for spiritual growth, but for living in alignment with the divine will. The journey we've taken together through the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the deeper truths within the Ethiopian Bible is not just about uncovering lost knowledge. It is about reclaiming our spiritual inheritance. For far too long, many of us have lived with a distorted image of God, a distorted image of Christ, and a distorted understanding of the divine plan. The image of a whitewashed, empire-serving Christ has clouded our view of a black Messiah, one who stood against the powers of the world and called us to rise in justice, love, and truth. The Ethiopian Bible reveals this Christ, the true, unaltered Christ, who is with the oppressed, who is for justice, and who came to bring divine order to a world in chaos. This revelation isn't just a theological discussion. It is a life-changing realization. It is a call to action. The truths in the Ethiopian Bible do not just stay in the pages of ancient texts. They are living, breathing truths that are meant to guide our daily lives. The Book of Enoch challenges us to understand that our actions have cosmic consequences, that we are active participants in the divine story, and that we are responsible for aligning ourselves with divine justice. The Book of Jubilees reminds us that time is sacred and cyclical, and each new cycle gives us an opportunity to realign with God's purpose. We are part of something much greater than ourselves, a divine plan that has been unfolding since the beginning of time and will continue to unfold until the ultimate restoration of all things. What we choose to do with this knowledge is our responsibility. These revelations are not meant to simply sit in our hearts as abstract ideas. They are meant to be lived out. The divine wisdom we've uncovered calls us to embody the values of justice, truth, and love in a world that desperately needs them. In the face of adversity, in the face of corruption and oppression, we are called to rise up, to speak the truth, and to live in alignment with the divine justice that has always been part of God's plan for the world. This is where the true power lies, in our ability to live the truth we have uncovered. The Ethiopian Bible doesn't just teach us about God. It teaches us about ourselves. It reveals to us our true identity, not as subjects to the powers of this world, but as divine beings created in God's image, tasked with the sacred responsibility to bring about justice and love. The Black Christ in the Ethiopian Bible is not a foreign or radical idea. It is the truth that has always been with us, a reminder that our true identity is found in our connection to God, not in the worldly labels that have been placed upon us. This truth has the power to heal the wounds of history, to mend the divisions created by empire, and to bring us closer to the divine. It is a call to reclaim our identities, to break free from the lies that have kept us divided, and to stand together in the truth of God's love and justice. This is not just a message for one group of people, it is a message for the entire world. The divine justice and love that the Ethiopian Bible speaks of are universal. They transcend race, culture, and time. They are meant for all of humanity. As you sit with this knowledge, I encourage you to reflect on the impact it has on your life. How does this truth change the way you see yourself? How does it shift your perspective on the world around you? Are you willing to embrace this divine awakening, to live your life in alignment with the justice, truth, and love that God has always intended for us? If you feel that this message has touched your heart, if it has opened your eyes to the deeper truths of the Ethiopian Bible, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What have you learned from this journey? How has the discovery of these hidden scriptures changed your understanding of God and of yourself? Your comments, your reflections, and your engagement are a part of this awakening. Together we can continue to share these divine truths, to live them out, and to bring them to the world. If this video has brought value to your soul, if it has helped you find light in the midst of the darkness, I humbly ask for your support. Every like, share, and subscription helps continue this mission of sharing God's truth. It allows me to keep bringing these messages of divine love, justice, and wisdom to you and to the world. Your support, no matter how small, is priceless and deeply appreciated. Every moment you share, every bit of energy you contribute, helps spread this message further and deeper. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this divine awakening. Together, we are not just uncovering the hidden truths of the Ethiopian Bible, we are embracing them, living them, and sharing them with the world. The time for healing is now. The time for justice is now. The time to walk in divine truth is now. And as we walk together, may we always remember the love, justice, and truth that have been revealed to us. Let us rise in that truth, stand firm in it, and let it guide us into the fullness of God's plan for humanity. Thank you for your continued support, and may God's peace, justice, and love fill your heart.